This is Orange Nation Overtime with Stephen Fonte and Paulie Sibilia.
Welcome in Orange Nation Overtime, everyone. Alongside Paulie Sibilia, I'm Stephen Fonte. We weren't supposed to have a show today, but we were able to talk live one-on-one with, or two-on-one, I guess, with the new athletic director at Syracuse University, Brian Blair. So we had him on the show. And listen, everybody wants to know who the next head basketball coach will be. Given the way that Jerry McNamara put a scare into Duke the way that he did, given everything from the last couple of weeks, it seems like Jerry is the strong front runner at the moment, Paulie.
Yeah, I would put it at a 98% chance he gets it. That's my take on the whole thing.
Yeah. So I guess without further ado, let's get to the interview. We had Brian Blair on with us for about 20, 25 minutes, whatever it was. We'll play it back for you right here. Enjoy. Here's the new director of athletics at Syracuse University. Just curious, how have the last 24 hours or so been with you and your family? And you had a chance to kind of walk around and look around with your family yesterday as you kind of get acclimated to your new surroundings. How'd it go?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but everything's exceeded my expectations. And I came in with really high expectations of what this place was. And I think just to walk into the dome, to be on campus and see the architecture, the buildings, but even more than that, to feel the energy of the people and how much everybody's aligned and supportive of Syracuse athletics and how excited they are for what the next era holds. There's a unanimous level of engagement, support, and passion. And I talked a little bit about my press conference. It energizes you, right? I'm not getting very much sleep these days, but that passion from everybody else keeps you going at a high level.
You know, it's basketball season right now, but everybody knows the breadwinner in sports is football. Have you met Fran, and what is your takeaway from what you know about the current football situation at Syracuse?
Yeah, I like Fran a lot. We've had a number of phone calls. We had dinner. I sat down with him a little bit earlier today and got a chance to catch up and tour his facility. I think, again, his passion for young people, his passion for making sure he's successful here and gets this right. But also, he's kind of old school in some of his approaches. I think he's really savvy. He's energetic. He gets after it. He's engaging our community and our stakeholders. So excited to lock arms with him and see that place come alive this fall.
You mentioned yesterday that you want to be his fullback. You want to make it easier for him to succeed, pave the way, pave that path for him to be more successful. Can you talk about what that looks like and where that, team first mentality for you kind of comes from?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a role I played throughout my career working with coaches. I got a chance to work with Mike Leach at Washington State when I was there, and we had a lot of success, but it wasn't without some of the kind of the behind-the-scenes blocking and tackling that, generally speaking, the general public has no idea has to happen on a regular basis. It's all little things from budget and HR and timing and procurement and how we go about presenting a experience for our student athletes and our young people and who's around them to make sure that culture, and then help coach in some ways look over his shoulder and his blind spots and always be thinking about how we make this program more and more successful. I think success is a team sport, and what I mean by that is oftentimes in football or basketball, people point the finger and say, well, the head coach won or the head coach lost. We don't say, hey, what did the fans do in that equation? What did the university CFO do in that equation? Where was the president? Where was the board? Where was the community overall? And what was their level of commitment to the sport of football to make sure we're chopping at all fronts, right? Your academic space needs to have a defined culture that mirrors what the football coach is talking about. Your strength and conditioning needs to be speaking from the same playbook and operating at the same level and upholding that standard. And so, again, football programs are massive. You've got a lot of different individuals, a lot of stakeholders. Everybody has to be on the same equation, same page. And I think if you look at the most successful programs up and down that org chart, that staff director for the athletic department, but also the university and the campus as a whole, everybody's marching to the same beat, pulling in the same direction. I think that's no different here.
You mentioned the fans don't know everything that goes into it. You said yesterday that the most important part right now is NIL, and that is something that the average fan doesn't know, and the perception is that Syracuse is behind in that right now. Is there a way? What can Syracuse do to get on the same level as the other schools in the ACC?
Yeah, and I don't know that let me say this. We always want to get more, right? Because more equals better players, and better players equal more success, and more success equal better things for the university and all of Central New York. And so that's always going to be where we strive to get to. I think we've got to do and continue to do a really good job of communicating what we're trying to do, what are our needs, what's the plan to get there, and where everybody fits on that seat on the bus. I think there's certainly, you see people all the time or have conversations, and they say, well, I'm a supporter, but I'm not one of your major supporters. I'm not a major donor. And I don't think that's true. I think everybody's got a role, and it's really all about doing the best you can with what you've got to help us reach where we're trying to get to. And that's relative to anybody's capacity or anybody's role in terms of what we're trying to execute here for this program. And so from an NIL standpoint, how do we streamline, make it really easy for people to want to and be able to support our programs, and how does that fit within our overall donor structure? But I think it was important for me at that press conference to say that part out loud, that this is a critical need. This is important for our entire department. This will be a priority, because I need everybody in their individual roles and units to understand that as we move forward, that it will be a priority, and whether that's what we do in the digital media space, what that means how we do from a budgetary standpoint and prioritizing things, or what that means from our Q's Athletic Fund and how we make sure as we ask and solicit dollars, but also steward and treat those supporters just like any of our supporters, and make sure they have a top-notch experience that encourages them to want to continue to support and invite other people along that journey. So we're going to be aggressive, but we're also going to be incredibly aligned on that pursuit, and knowing, okay, that if that's important, and it is, here's the things that we need to do to reach our overall number and goal for the year.
All right, yesterday, before you open it up for questions, you said, listen, I understand the elephant in the room. I understand there's a search going on to find a new head coach. And you know, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room right now. I don't know what you can share or can't share, but we've got a few questions that we have to ask, and we'll see, you know, where this goes. But I guess first and foremost, Brian, can you bring us up to date on the process, how involved you've been, who you're working in conjunction with, and maybe, you know, where that process stands right now? Is it, is it 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter? Is there still a lot to play out?
Yeah, I think John and team did a good job of assembling a candidate pool of what they thought, and then also a lot of background information in terms of where we've been budgetarily, what's historically worked here, all those kind of facts and figures. And then we've been able to come together and get me up to speed and certainly understand where it's at. And certainly I've got preferences on some things, and try to come together on that front. And then Chancellor-elect Haney coming on board, and certainly his leadership role in terms of leading this university and certainly providing leadership to us. And then I really think it's a team effort between the three of us to lock arms, because everybody understands what this means for our athletics programs, and everybody understands we don't have a choice but to make sure that we get this right. And so we're aligned on that piece of the puzzle. In terms of where we're at, in terms of fourth quarter, third quarter, second quarter, I don't want to get into too much of that timeline piece, but we're going to move with a sense of urgency, but we're also not going to rush because this is a critical hire and we've got to get it right. And I would just implore our fan base to I understand I'm brand new, but I just ask for them to give our university a little bit of trust during this time period. Don't believe everything you read. And then I think we'll have some information to share hopefully soon.
Along those lines, don't believe everything you read. You mentioned yesterday as well that you're aware of the rumors and that there are plenty of inaccurate rumors out there as well. Hoping you can clear something up for us. Has anyone during this process, has any candidate turned down an offer from Syracuse University?
No.
Okay. Now, you said yesterday as well that you don't want to talk about any candidate. I will respect that. I'm not going to ask you to talk about Jerry McNamara's candidacy, but you said you were going to watch the game. You were going to, you're going to root for him because he's a Syracuse guy. Did you get a chance to see the game? Did anything stand out to you from the game?
I did. You got to be incredibly proud of Jerry. I mean, like, if you know the backstory of that team, they're down a number of players, and to play the number one seed and get sent that way, it was a tall task to try to pull off something historic. And then I think I didn't get to watch it all because we've had a lot going on, but I think they only played a limited number of players that entire game. So you talk about the grit, the will, the passion that those young men executed with. I think certainly we're proud of Jerry. He's one of our most famed alum. And so to not watch that, just as a college basketball fan, much less now being the director of athletics at Syracuse, I think all of us have a lot to be proud of, and certainly cheering Jerry on.
Syracuse has recently had a national championship in soccer and is a storied lacrosse program also. What is your take on the sports that maybe don't get the recognition that basketball and football do?
Yeah, I mean, I told all our coaches when we talked, we had a luncheon, and I want to be clear, you all matter. And this idea that somebody's more important than the other, I don't necessarily buy into that. I understand the finances of this enterprise and where we need to be from a commercial standpoint. And certainly we've got a handful of sports that drive the vast majority of the revenue. We've got a handful of sports that drive the vast majority of the brand recognition. And I understand that and the importance that needs to put on them and the investment that needs to be made. That doesn't mean the student athletes and the coaches in the other sports don't matter, and they certainly shouldn't be invisible. We've got to deliver an incredible experience for all of those sports. We want to give each of them the chance to pursue championships, pursue postseason opportunities in the NCAA, and make sure when those young people leave here, they're really proud to be a member of the Syracuse family and reflect fondly onto those memories. Because if you were being honest, if you look at historically, many of your partners that give back and philanthropically, a lot of them come from sports not named football and basketball. And so, I mean, one, from just a business standpoint, I think you want to be mindful, but two, they're graduates of this fine university. They're going to go on and do big things. And so we want to make sure we give them a tremendous experience. As part of why I got into college athletics, I had an amazing experience as a football student athlete at the FCS level, again, not bringing in major dollars or participating in the CFP. But it taught me a lot of life lessons that, frankly, I wouldn't be here today without.
You come into the basketball looking for a coach on the men's side. Women's team's in the tournament, and maybe have you met Coach Jack and your thoughts on the women's team?
Yeah, if you look back at my history, I've always been around women's basketball. I told Coach, I worked at Don Staley early in my time at South Carolina. We were recruiting Asia Wilson and going through a lot of growing pains with that program to get to where they are now. I've had high-level women's basketball at Rice and Washington State, and then Toledo. We're annually top 30 in the country in attendance for women's basketball, and went to the NCAA tournament and knocked off a Big 12 champion. So I've had a great history, and it's been a constant presence of excellence in women's basketball. And then Coach Jack's no different. Obviously, you heard about her and knew about her coming from the Mid-American Conference, her time at Buffalo. And then for her now to be here and see how she engages with her student athletes and the standard that they presented, I mean, it's really compelling. And so I'm excited to cheer them on, not only this weekend, but hopefully well into the future, because I think she's building something incredibly special.
Brian, I asked you two questions yesterday that I want to revisit right now just because our radio listeners and viewers didn't get a chance to hear your responses. But the first one being, we know how hard it is, I guess, from the outside looking in, to win in both basketball and football. And you said to ESPN right after you got the job, to Andrea Adelson, you said at Syracuse you don't pick between football and basketball. You got to do both. You got to win at both. And it is not easy. You did win at both at Toledo. I guess my question is, how hard is it to win at both on a regular basis in a Power 4 level, and what is it about Syracuse that makes you believe you can do it here?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece that people struggle with nationally is when you're trying to do both, it just really stretches your resources, right? We're trying to do ref share, and then you're trying to present above the cap NIL opportunities. You're trying to pay coaches at the top of the market. You're trying to support operationally at a high level, right? Those dollars continue to stack up. And so from an efficiency standpoint, a lot of people choose to focus on one or the other in hopes that they can really ramp up their resources in that and make their bet on the sport they feel they can be more successful at. And you're seeing it all over the country, right? You got in the Big Ten footprint, a lot of programs focus on football, basketball, and volleyball. And down south, you're adding baseball and softball in that mix, and people are trying to play to their strengths. I think here at Syracuse, you've got this opportunity where certainly you got to generate more revenue and produce more resources, and I'm fully aware of that. But I also think the sheer scale and volume that our basketball setup allows us to do allows basketball to, quote unquote, feed itself at a higher level than maybe some other programs. And so I want to see us be one of the top programs in the country from a basketball revenue standpoint. That's a goal that I discussed in my search process, in the interview process, I should say, of, hey, when you look at those top ranked programs that generate revenue from basketball, where do we sit? What is that gap, and what are those programs doing that have covered that gap that we're not doing? And certainly a winning is a piece of that, but I think it's more than winning. I think we've got to get really creative and rethink some of the things that we're trying to do around basketball to make it more profitable, so as we continue to invest, that ROI is there.
Before I get to my last question, I do want to bring up one more basketball-related question. Can you give us a sense of the profile of coach that you are looking for to be the next leader of this program at Syracuse?
Yeah, I think you want an elite basketball mind. I think in today's world with the transfer portal, NIL, and rev share, you need somebody with an elite basketball mind, frankly, that can out-coach other coaches. You need somebody, too, that's an elite team builder and culture builder that can get a team maybe of new individuals each year to come together and really ramp up together and be a team and out-team the other team, right? And so I think when you're looking for that, like, they need to be able to evaluate not only talent, but evaluate talent that fits their system and fits their team the best, right? So they've got to have that keen eye for talent. They've got to be able to pull that talent together in a really unique way. And then they've got to have a system that allows them to execute at a really high level. I think the days of really the kind of authoritarian, over-the-top, my way or the highway, I'm not quite sure that works the same way it used to 10, 15 years ago for the modern student athlete, because let's face it, these student athletes have a lot of choices about where they're going to spend their time. And as it sits right now, at the end of every year, they can choose to stay or choose to go. And so you're almost re-recruiting your roster. And so hopefully you're not begging student athletes to stay. And I don't think we need to beg anybody to be a part of Syracuse men's basketball or women's basketball or football or any of our sports. But you want to present an experience that provides them everything they're looking for. You want to be able to develop them towards their ultimate goal, oftentimes of making the NBA. You want them to have a part of being a part of some big-time wins in front of a big-time crowd. And so we've got to be clicking on all of those cylinders to present the best model, but that coaching piece is central to that.
And Brian, last question from me is really just a message to the fans. You brought up that tweet yesterday during your remarks about SU's attendance for basketball, that they were fifth or whatever it was, and you happened to read the comments and saw some of the passionate nature, I guess we should say, of this fan base. And we talked about this yesterday, Brian, that change can be unsettling at times, right? And you've got a new chancellor in place. You're here as a new AD. You're soon to have a new men's basketball coach, and that can be unsettling for fans. Just your thoughts and your message to all of Orange Nation today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm so ecstatic to be a part of this, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't think we could dream big. I've got lofty goals for this program, some that I voiced, some that I'm keeping internal, but I'm aiming really, really high on what we can do and how we can be positioned nationally to accomplish all we can accomplish. I mean, you're a private school with an elite education, the only Power Four in this tremendous state. You've got so many intangibles that allow you to lean in and leverage those unique aspects to create something that's truly uniquely Syracuse, right? But we can talk about it, or we can get to work and be about it. And I think for our fan base and everybody associated with our program in Central New York, the time is now. We don't have a whole lot of time to wait and see or wonder or say, hey, I want to see how this works out before I hop in. I need everybody to trust and hop in with 2 feet and play whatever role you play. And if that's buying a T-shirt and being a walking billboard around the country for Syracuse Athletics and Syracuse University, go for it. If that's coming and buying a beer and popcorn at our game and supporting us through that, go for it. If that's being a major donor or supporting our NIL efforts, let's do that. Let's go for it. But we're going to give everybody a crystal clear plan about where they can play in, and then we're going to invite everybody to be a part of this team. Because as I said yesterday, teamwork's the ultimate buzzword, right? Everybody talks about it, but very few execute it at a really, really high level because it requires so much self-sacrifice. You got to set egos aside, your personal agendas, and all come together and rally around one point. But I think if you do that, if you have that teamwork, if you pull together, and we have that sense of urgency, and I think we have alignment and sense of urgency up and down our administration here at the university, we tap that in with our fan base. I truly believe we're unstoppable.
All right, a couple easy ones from me here. Have you been out in Syracuse yet? Been to any restaurants? Had anything stick out to you that wise?
Yeah, no, I've not gotten the full list of corporate sponsors, so I don't want to step on my toes. But we had Dinosaur Barbecue catered in. The staff did that for me yesterday. That was tremendous. It was not easy doing a sit-down interview right after eating that barbecue, right? So you had to balance those two. I got a chance to check out Lemongrass last night. And that was really good downtown, and got a really neat meal there. And then all I've been soliciting or hearing about is all the other options within the area. I had lunch today with our student athletes from the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and they were talking on and on about how much they love Syracuse, what's their favorite spot, what do they do for fun out in the community. And they were able to sit down with my family, my little boy and girl, and that was really important to me. So I think I've got a lot of things to do in Syracuse, but certainly checking out some of these top-notch restaurants and food locations is part of it.
I've heard that you're a big barbecue guy. You said you had Dinosaur Barbecue. Where does it stack up for you?
Yeah, it was really, really good. It was really, really good. So my first present to my only present to myself, right? My wife handles her finances. I hand my check over each month. The one thing I did for myself when I got to Toledo, I had a custom made smoker built down in Georgia and shipped up to Toledo, and it pulls behind the truck. And so I'm very serious about my quality of barbecue. I lived 7.5 years in Texas, grew up in South Carolina. So I'm probably a hybrid of those two types of barbecue. But Dinosaur was really good. They did a great job. I thought the ribs in particular were well done. And so was the brisket. My wife even remarked how good it was. And we just didn't know quite what to expect. And so we're going to get out and certainly try that some more and try some other places. And just I want to embrace all that is Central New York. The parks, the hiking, the lakes, everything associated with this place, and then the cities within driving distance. We're really immersing ourselves in this community, and I look forward to it because I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
There he is, the director of athletics at Syracuse University, Brian Blair. Anything stand out to you from the interview, Paulie?
Yeah, no, it seems like they got the right guy for the job, and he answered a question you wanted answered.
Yeah, I think we tried to clear up whether or not anyone had turned down an offer from Syracuse University. Obviously, that was the rumor out there, the report out there that Brian Hodgson had turned down Syracuse University. He answered it. He said, no, we'll take it on face value.
It's National Ravioli Day. I guess this is the same as Tortellini Day. You enjoy a good tortellini. I'm guessing you enjoy a good ravioli.
Yeah, cheese, meat, doesn't matter. I love
that. Is shocking.
Yeah.
Any
no, I love pasta.
Not mushroom.
No, but I can't do the red sauce, which I wish that I could.
Alfredo ravioli?
Yes, I will do Alfredo, or it's like a light cheese sauce. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Good. You found something you like.
All right, go watch some basketball this weekend.
You have a nice ravioli. Watching basketball.
We got to go, everybody. For Paulie, I'm Steve. Enjoy the weekend, and we should have some news. We would expect some news at some point next week. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.